You're listening to the Voice of Russia from London. I'm Tim Walklate and this is Sports Talk. In today's show, survey reveals the cost of football, are clubs pricing their fans out of the stadiums, and St. Petersburg is Russia's choice of city to host Euro 2020 matches. But first, the average cost of attending a football match in Britain has fallen this year. That's according to a new survey by the BBC. The annual Price of Football survey, based on information from 164 clubs across the top 10 divisions, revealed that the price of tickets, programmes and food at Britain's football grounds has dropped by 2.4% for the 2013-14 season. But coming on top of an 11% increase in costs last season and falling real wages, are poorer fans being priced out of football? Luke Ilott finds out.
English football is a booming industry. 350,000 seats at stadiums across the country fill up week in, week out. Players are earning unprecedented sums. But every penny that goes into their wages means higher prices for the fans who turn out to see them. Or does it? The Price of Football survey released by the BBC this week claims that the average cost of following a club in Britain's football leagues has fallen this season. Stocking up on the matchday essentials, a pie, a programme and a cup of tea on top of the price of admission, is now 2.4% cheaper on average than it was last year, when high prices and economic uncertainty led to a considerable drop in attendance figures. The survey is met with scepticism. Despite a small improvement for fans this season, the long-term trend is for ever-rising prices. Last year, the cost of football leapt up by 11%, 4 times higher than the rate of inflation. Arsenal FC remained the most expensive club in English football. The cheapest season ticket at the Emirates Stadium costs almost £1,000, and the most expensive over twice that. Yet every match, over 99% of seats are filled at the 60,000 capacity stadium, and turnout shows no sign of abating. Speaking to fans outside, I found them split as to whether the high cost of supporting their North London team is worth it.
It's like £60 just for a game. Any other tickets now, so much cheaper. Arsenal's so expensive, it's a joke.
Like, it's over £1,000 to get a season ticket here at the Arsenal.
Is that worth it?
Depends. You could argue. We've just signed a world-class player. People want to come see him play. You never know. Like, our season tickets are the most expensive in the league. But yeah, it's worth coming to see them play now and again.
I guess you can understand the pricing, because if you do go to any other club in the Premier League, we're not huge difference above them. And to pay off the stadium, we're going to come out of it much better than other clubs, I believe.
It's been expensive for about the last 10 years. The average ticket is about 40 quid. For an hour and a half's worth of football is far too much. I've got 3 children who I couldn't take. I used to take my son and I'll get him a ticket and wait outside because I can't afford to. Generations of fans are losing out.
High prices have been justified by the need to spend more and more on better players in order to ensure a successful return on the fans' investment, both financial and emotional. But Tim Payton, spokesman for the Arsenal Supporters Trust, says there's a limit to how much clubs can afford to charge. With Liverpool charging £38 for its cheapest matchday ticket and a cup of tea costing £2.50 at Manchester United, are ordinary fans being priced out of the beautiful game?
Clubs need to work on stretch pricing, they need to work on initiatives, they need to look after the away fan, because I think it should represent its community. If it just turns up people eating prawn sandwiches and rattling their jewellery at games, what we love, the essence of what is football, will be lost.
Lower down the leagues, the essence of football is an essential source of revenue. The lack of media deals and lower turnout means that club personnel are careful not to frighten away their fans, and prices there pale in comparison to those of the top-flight clubs, with Albion Rovers in Scotland charging just £7 for an adult ticket. Mark Devlin is the chief executive of Brentford FC, a club in League One, England's third tier, which according to the survey is one of the most expensive in its division.
I think our prices are pretty much where they are. I think they're consistent with the part of the country that we're in. We're very, very aware of the financial aspects that our community is going through, that many of our supporters are suffering. So for the price of a I think it was a pie at one club. You could actually come and watch the game at our place.
He says that smaller clubs have to be more innovative with their pricing policy.
We're hungry for more supporters, so we can't afford to rest on our laurels. So we have got to make sure that our season ticket prices are keen, catering is well priced. I think you will find that Football League clubs in the main are much hungrier for business. They have to be smarter and more creative in their approach because we have a lot more empty seats to fill than Premier League clubs have, and we don't get the benefit of the media coverage that the Premier League does. So we have to get off our backsides, be creative and get people into the club. On the 26th of October, and for the second year, we're running a Pay What You Can initiative. All home areas of the ground, whether it's our terracing or whether it's seats, fans can pay what they can afford to pay to come to the game, starting at a minimum of £1. You would never find a scheme like that in the Premier League.
Prices may have fallen in football this year, but we are unlikely to see that continue. Kevin Roberts, editorial director of Sport Business Group, thinks the challenge for British teams will be to make money without losing friends.
Particularly at the top end, as long as stadium occupancy is in excess of 90%, and it's certainly around that level at the moment, the clubs will do what they can to make sure that they get the balance right between maximising revenue without damaging their fan base, and more importantly, without damaging the way that their fans look on their club. That bond between fan and club is absolutely essential. Going to football, buying a football ticket and choosing your football team is not like walking through a supermarket and deciding which ketchup to put in your basket.
With that in mind, club executives will face a balancing act to ensure that Britain's most popular sport continues to draw millions of fans while spending many more millions on footballing talent from around the world.
Luke Ilott there. The Russian Football Association has announced that St. Petersburg is its preferred choice as the host city for Euro 2020, which will be held in cities from 13 different countries for the first time. Under plans put forward by UEFA President Michel Platini, one nation will host the semi-finals and final, while the other 12 will hold 3 group stage and 1 knockout match. St. Petersburg joins Budapest, Belgrade, Basel, Baku and Istanbul, all of which have submitted bids. Countries had until Thursday, and UEFA will formally verify applications on September the 20th. I spoke to Andrew Warshaw, chief correspondent at Inside World Football, and I asked him to explain how the tournament would work.
The idea is that, firstly, because it's expanded in 2016 to 24 teams, and France is holding it then, there aren't many countries around who could actually stage a tournament of that magnitude. So, as a one-off, and also to celebrate the 60th anniversary of UEFA, Platini feels, and I think on balance I probably agree with him, that it gives a chance for countries and cities who can't normally stage Euros to actually have a bite at the cherry. What's happened now is the deadline has passed for initial applicants to say they want a piece of the action, and UEFA will put that to their executive committee next week in Dubrovnik, and then at the end of it, almost certainly they will announce who the cities are, and then in April next year, the bid dossiers have to go in, and the following September, a year from now, we'll know which cities have been successful. How it works is that you can either bid for up to 3 group games and a knockout match, or to stage the semi-finals and final, which UEFA have made clear will take place in the same city.
Is this likely to be popular amongst all UEFA members? I mean, is it 54?
Well, the deadline's over, and UEFA haven't said how many there are. I don't think there'll be dozens, but I would have thought probably more than 20. The last 2, as far as we know, who put their names forward are Azerbaijan, which might sound a long shot, but Baku has got a new Olympic stadium under construction, so UEFA might look favourably on them, and Belgium putting forward Brussels, which also is building a new 60,000-seater stadium and, of course, has a very, 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 very good team at the moment.
And like you said, it's maybe an opportunity for smaller nations and maybe less well-known nations like Azerbaijan to sort of showcase their talent and their potential to host tournaments on a grander scale in future.
That's exactly why Platini has opened this up, because he wants the smaller countries to have a chance to, as you put it, showcase what they can do. And as far as a major competition is concerned, football-wise at least, they don't have many opportunities to do this. Countries like Azerbaijan, countries like Serbia, who've put forward Belgrade, Scotland, who've put forward Glasgow, Hungary have put forward Budapest. Certainly some of these countries will be successful and others won't, and a lot of it's going to depend on infrastructure, including, I'm not sure, I think UEFA have said that there's got to be a minimum of 2 airports in each city to get to the stadium, and also there are certain sizes of stadium that are prerequisites as well. So there's going to be quite a lot of discussions and toing and froing before the decision's made, and it'll be made by UEFA's executive committee.
Could we see the tournament possibly being concentrated in a certain region of Europe?
I think you'll find that it's going to be just that. It'll be in regions. So you'll have, Eastern Europe staging X number of group games. What UEFA will do, they'll try to put certain countries in certain groups so that fans don't have to travel too far. That's the whole idea. And the same will apply to Northern Europe, maybe Scandinavia, and Central Europe. That's the thinking behind what Platini wants to do. It's a very, very revolutionary idea. UEFA have made clear it's a one-off, a bit like switching Qatar to winter, a one-off. It won't happen again. But economically speaking, and to celebrate UEFA's anniversary, that's what's going to happen. It does have the almost unanimous backing of UEFA members.
You mentioned the semi-finals and the finals. Who are the front runners?
Probably between Turkey, England and Germany. It's got to be at one venue. You can apply for 2 packages, i.e., a group stage package with a knockout match. That can be at one venue, and the final and semi-final can be at another venue. You can put forward up to 2 venues, but only one venue per package, if you see what I mean. And I think for the finals and semi-finals, England will put forward Wembley, Turkey, Istanbul, and Germany, Munich. Ironically, until last week, Turkey weren't in the ballpark because of the Olympic bid. But now that Istanbul are out, and remember, Turkey were hopping mad when they lost out to France by 1 single vote for the 2016 championships, I think we'll find that Platini will give them his backing in terms of the race to stage the final and semi-finals, and I would imagine that they'll get the nod in September next year, but could be a 2-way, 3-way, or maybe even 4-way competition if another country wants to also apply to stage the latter stages.
Andrew Warshaw speaking to me earlier. You've been listening to Sports Talk on the Voice of Russia in London. From me, Tim Walklate. Goodbye.